It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast. You know it and I know it. We're talking real estate property news 7 days a week. And of course, you can tune in just after 6 a.m. every day of the week, as heard on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon. Middle of our working week, Wednesday, November the 27th. Boy, this is a big problem. Squatters are illegally occupying thousands of US properties, causing damage and, in some cases, extreme cases of violence or even death. Despite being illegal in California, squatters have legal protections, making it a very lengthy and expensive process for owners. Law enforcement often avoids involvement, pushing some to turn to vigilante methods like squatter hunters. Property owners are urged to take precautions such as security systems and regular inspections to prevent costly legal battles and devastating losses. Now, we've got tomorrow a guy called George McCleary who's got a bit of detail on this, and we'll be talking to him from the US. So he ended up doing something that got him on the Dr. Phil show. So we'll find out his story tomorrow morning. Now, don't forget, of course, if you've got a question, you can email us to myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com because we would love to hear from you. Now, we've been talking about the REA Group Annual Awards, which honours this year's high achievers for 2024. We're catching up with another winner, and that is Dylan Kilner from Stonebridge Property Group in Melbourne. G'day there, Dylan. Congratulations on winning Top Commercial Agent. Gee, you would have been celebrating that pretty hard the other night.
Thank you very much. No, it was a pleasing award to win and a testament to the team that we work with, that we're able to carry around 70 sales through that period.
Yeah, because commercial, I mean, it's pretty big, isn't it, in Melbourne there, and plenty of competition, I would imagine, to win one of these awards that are on offer every year.
Absolutely. Look, there's really strong competition out there. There's a lot of big agencies working in the space, but we just found a really good rhythm working in core markets, South Melbourne, West Melbourne, Fitzroy, Richmond, right around the city, where a lot of investors want to place capital.
It's always nice too, just to sort of take a little bit of a break and catch up with some other fellow agents there on the night and just sort of, just down the tools, as it were.
Absolutely. You know, I had a good chat with a few agents out of Queensland who have had a really good run this year. There's a lot of Victorian money heading up to Queensland as well, which was interesting to hear.
Now, since we've got you there, I must ask you about the land tax, because it's been a bit of a major driver for investors to get out of some of these commercial buildings.
Yeah, absolutely. The state government has made a very clear message that land tax revenue is an area they're going to continue to keep driving to help get their state budget back on track. But unfortunately for our owners, who a lot of them have owned for 30, 40 years, commercial real estate, if they haven't been actively, releasing their buildings, adding value to their buildings, in some cases we're seeing owners which have income less than what the land tax bill is every year. So that's forcing them to essentially realise the capital that's locked up in that building.
Yes, because I would imagine if you're not being active as an owner of commercial real estate, you can't just sit and hold on that property in the current landscape.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in the past, for the past 30, 40 years, the fundamentals of commercial real estate have now changed due to the land tax, because each year you're getting a bill that, in some cases on a, $3, $4, $5 million property could be $100,000 to $200,000. And if you haven't got a tenant in there that's utilizing the whole of the space, or you haven't spent money on the building to increase the rent that you can get, in some cases the land tax bill is higher than the rent you're actually achieving.
And talking about these people that are divesting, where do they go? Do you find out where some of your clients have sort of cashed up and moved on? Have they bought into another state?
Yeah, look, a lot of people are in Victoria in particular heading to Queensland. Land tax is lower up there, but a lot of our vendors are essentially saying, Dylan, I'm receiving a 2 or 3% yield on my factory in Collingwood or South Melbourne. I can actually put the money in the bank right now and get 5.5% or even more if you lend it out to, private debt or even just put it on the stock market. So there's a real competition for capital. The good news is there's still plenty of people who want to buy that commercial real estate, who are more active owners that want to come in. They want to spend $500,000 on the building, bring it up to speed, fix the roof, fix the lights so that they can then generate the higher returns.
All right, we're talking to Dylan Kilner there in Melbourne. We'll come back after this, and I want to find out from Dylan what is the biggest asset class that he is dealing with, like where is the hot money at the moment when it comes to commercial. We'll ask that question after this.
We dive deep into topics like buying, selling, investing, and maximising your property's value. From mortgage advice to the latest property data, your real estate journey starts here. It's time to go back to the Real Estate Vault for this week's property comment.
So a couple of days ago, CoreLogic, now they released some numbers regarding the Australian home values that continues to trend higher in April, with the National Home Value Index rising by 0.6%.
This is a really resilient result for Australian home value increases. And it's pretty counter to everything we're seeing in the economy at the moment, which is a slowdown in economic output, weaker consumer sentiment, depleted household savings rates, and of course, higher interest rates. But the property market has managed to keep rising because it's being driven by cheaper markets in particular. So Perth, for example, which has a relatively low median of $721,000, rose by 2% in the month.
We talk to the most knowledgeable real estate experts across Australia every day from 6 a.m.
And it is a Real Estate Wednesday. We are talking a commercial property this morning with Dylan Kilner. And tell us a little bit about what is hot at the moment with commercial and what you've been dealing with over the, 2024 year.
Well, we're still seeing a lot of money head to core inner city markets around Melbourne. Where the value is Abbotsford and North Melbourne, where there's significant government infrastructure investment. And you can actually buy almost at half the land or building rates compared to, the neighbouring suburbs like a Collingwood, South Melbourne or Cremorne. So I think there's still good value in that inner city. You just got to pick the suburb that's emerging a bit more as opposed to the one that's already well established.
One of the things that I always find interesting is people with portfolios that want to dabble in commercial, and they've sort of hesitated. They've said, no, I might just stick with residential. I like doing renos. I like doing all sorts of different things in the residential market. But you just said something before the break which could be of interest to people that are into the reno side of things, and that is these buildings that need a bit of a reno, need a bit of a makeover, and suddenly, there's some good value that you can find in the commercial space.
Oh, absolutely. And these buildings, they're just in core locations. So you're close to public transport and amenity. They've also got good scale. So you could buy a building for $2 million, but you can get in and you could spend $250,000 to $500,000 fixing the flooring, fixing the roofing. And then out of nowhere, you can lease it to like a national brand tenant on a 5-year lease term. So as opposed to residential where you're dealing with 6 and 12-month leases and you've got a bit of uncertainty around tenant tenure, you could sign this up for 5 years and then put it in the top drawer and, set and forget type thing. We're seeing a lot of super fund money come into the commercial market space and actively refurbishing buildings.
So as you look across the 2024 year, just to give us a little bit of a sense for these people making a move, like adding a little bit of commercial into their property portfolio, have you dealt with these people in 2024 that have done that?
there's a lot of money coming out of residential because the laws have changed in Victoria, which make owning residential investment property a lot more challenging. You have to be very careful with how you look after your tenants in residential. Commercial is different. There's a very formal agreement between a vendor, an owner, and a tenant, which is a business, that you just have less restrictions with how you can manage them, and it's a bit more landlord favoured is what I would say in commercial.
And it's a mind shift, isn't it? You've got to really sort of tap into it, understand it, make sure that you do your due diligence. It's something where, we know that people don't, in many cases, do as much due diligence as they should on residential. When it comes to commercial, boy, you've got to really up that game if you're not sort of paying attention right across it, because these leases and long-term leases, and if it's untenanted, all that is super, super important before you lay any money down.
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing a lot more buyers advocates come into the commercial market. When I started about 7 years ago, we weren't dealing with any. Now, any new investors, we're seeing a lot of them use buyers advocates. And I highly recommend that for the money that you would pay them to buy a property for you. You might save thousands down the track. So it's certainly an avenue you can look at. Having said that, it is, they're still bricks and mortar. They're just buildings and business. They're just businesses as opposed to residential tenants. So, every shop you go into, every shopping centre, every factory that, stores the meat that you eat on your table every night, they're all using commercial buildings. So it may sound foreign, but the reality is it's just a part of everyday life like a residential property.
I like a little bit of industrial, if I'm absolutely honest with you. So before I let you go, can you, at the bottom end of the market, give us a couple of areas and a bit of buy-in, if somebody's sort of down the bottom end of the rung of the ladder, that they could secure an industrial building for?
Look, I like the growth corridors for industrial. There's still a big focus. So when I say growth corridors, it's the southeast out towards Pakenham or out towards Melton. If you can get a bite-sized industrial factory out there, there's a limited supply of industrial land. There's a big focus on residential land getting delivered. So if you can get your hands on a factory in those areas, I think over the long term, you'll always have a tenant. And, in 10, 15 years, when you're ready to retire or whatever that may be, there'll be a buyer for it. So they're just not releasing a lot of industrial land because it's a very sensitive topic for new releases of industrial land, if you know what I mean. Like there's things that come with it, like contamination, heavy uses, that governments kind of shy away from that a bit.
Okay, all right. Well, great to catch up with you this morning, Dylan. First time that we have spoken. Congratulations on that award from the other night, top commercial agent there in Victoria. Thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We are more than just a real estate podcast. Follow each week all of the main talking points and know your property.
Luckily enough, I married my personal assistant, so my husband is my executive PA, so he unfortunately doesn't get to have a day off very often. He works 7 days a week.
Hey, you've reversed it out. Marrying your PA, that's what a bloke normally does.
Yeah, I couldn't live without him, that's for sure.
It just sets up that top agent to sell more without any hassles.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's my specialty. I come into agents' businesses, so having systems and checklists for every single aspect of the business, and once again provide the best service to the clients, it's the most crucial aspect of the business.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.